Welcome to the 28th episode of Proofless, where we navigate the haunting labyrinth of America's unsolved mysteries, cases that linger like whispers in the wind, defying answers and anchoring families to a relentless hope shadowed by grief. I'm your host, Anna Berger, and today we're stepping into the historic streets of Charleston, South Carolina, a city of cobblestone charm, low-country elegance, and hidden shadows, where a young woman's disappearance in 1975 shattered a community's sense of safety and left an enduring mystery. We're diving into the case of Laura Elizabeth Moore, an 18-year-old college freshman with dreams of becoming an architect who vanished after an evening walk to the Battery, leaving behind a trail of elusive clues: her torn sketchbook, a cracked flashlight, a discarded jacket, and a case that remains proofless without her body or clear resolution. This is a story of a young woman brimming with ambition, a fleeting moment that altered everything, and a family's unyielding pursuit of the truth, a quest that has spanned 5 decades and reshaped a city. So, settle in for an expansive, unbroken journey into a case that continues to echo through Charleston's palmetto-lined avenues, a tale of loss, resilience, and unanswered questions that still beg for answers. It's September 1975 in Charleston, a coastal city of about 70,000, nestled where the Ashley and Cooper rivers converge into the Atlantic, crafting a landscape of salt marshes, historic plantations, and pastel-hued homes that gleam under the low-country sun. Charleston is a jewel of the South, its cobblestone streets and colonial architecture drawing tourists to the Battery's grand mansions, the French Quarter's art galleries, and the bustling docks where shrimp boats bob in the harbor. The city pulses with a blend of tradition and vitality. Gullah storytellers weave tales in the market, church bells ring from St. Michael's, and the scent of she-crab soup wafts from local kitchens. Neighborhoods like Ansonboro, with its brick row houses, wrought iron gates, and shaded courtyards, offer middle-class stability, a place where neighbors share iced tea on porches and children play hopscotch on sidewalks. The mid-1970s are a time of cultural transition. Gerald Ford is president, navigating a nation recovering from Watergate and Vietnam. Jaws is terrifying moviegoers, packing theaters with its tale of unseen danger. And Fleetwood Mac's Rumors is climbing the charts, its melodies drifting from transistor radios. Charleston's economy thrives on tourism, shipping, and the nearby naval base, where sailors in crisp whites mingle with locals. But beneath the city's charm lies an undercurrent of unease. The FBI's 1975 Uniform Crime Report notes a troubling rise in violent crime across southern port cities, with abductions and assaults ticking upward, often targeting young women in areas frequented by transients, dock workers, tourists, and drifters drawn to Charleston's port and highways like I-26. Ansonboro, where Laura Moore lives, is a tight-knit enclave of church suppers, community book clubs, and front porch conversations. But its proximity to downtown's lively nightlife, with its bars and music venues, and the transient traffic along Highway 26 creates pockets of vulnerability, especially after dusk when streetlights are sparse. The Charleston Harbor, with its deep, churning channels and surrounding marshes stretching into the Francis Marion National Forest, is both a scenic wonder and a formidable keeper of secrets, its murky depths capable of concealing evidence for decades. Laura Elizabeth Moore is an 18-year-old with a radiant smile, a quick laugh, and a passion for design that lights up her green eyes. Born on April 10, 1957, to William and Catherine Moore, she's their only child, a cherished daughter who fills their modest home with creativity and warmth. With her shoulder-length blonde hair, often tied back with a scarf, and a smattering of freckles across her nose, Laura is a familiar sight in Ansonboro, pedaling her blue Raleigh bike or sitting on a bench, sketching Charleston's historic buildings in her leather-bound notebook. A 1975 graduate of Bishop England High School, where she was voted most artistic, Laura is a freshman at the College of Charleston, studying architecture with dreams of designing modern buildings that harmonize with the city's colonial aesthetic, perhaps a sleek library with gabled roofs or a community center echoing the Low Country's charm. Her father, William, a burly dock worker with calloused hands, spends long days unloading cargo at the port, while her mother, Catherine, a seamstress, crafts intricate quilts sold at local markets. Their home on Meeting Street is a cozy 2-story row house, its walls adorned with Laura's pencil sketches of Rainbow Row and her watercolors of palmetto trees. Laura is a straight-A student, her professors praising her meticulous designs and her ability to blend practicality with beauty. She's active in the college's art club, organizing gallery nights, and volunteers at the Charleston Museum, cataloging 18th century artifacts with a reverence for history. Friends describe her as creative yet grounded, a planner who dreams big but always calls home by her 9 p.m. curfew. Laura's life captures the vibrant spirit of a 1970s teenager in a city steeped in tradition. She works part-time at the Book Nook, a cozy bookstore on King Street, shelving novels and saving for a professional drafting table she's eyed in a catalog. Her free time is spent at Folly Beach, where she sketches driftwood or swims with her best friend, Sarah Evans, a fellow freshman. She loves evening strolls through the Battery, capturing the sunset's glow over Fort Sumter, or wandering the French Quarter, sketching church steeples while listening to Simon and Garfunkel or James Taylor on her portable radio. Laura rides her Raleigh bike everywhere, its basket often stuffed with art supplies, weaving through Charleston's narrow streets with a carefree grace. She dates casually, meeting classmates at coffee shops like The Daily Grind, but in September 1975 she's single, pouring her energy into her studies and sketches. Sarah recalls a troubling detail. Laura mentioned an unsettling customer at the Book Nook, a man in his late 20s with a scruffy beard who'd linger at the counter, asking about her classes and weekend plans. Laura laughed it off, saying, "He's probably just bored," but grew cautious, double-checking the store's locks and avoiding closing shifts alone. These moments, fleeting in the warm September light, would later cast a long shadow over her case. On the evening of September 12th, 1975, Charleston is warm and humid, with temperatures hovering in the high 70s and a salty breeze drifting in from the harbor. The city is alive with early fall energy. Tourists stroll the market, locals sip sweet tea on porches, and the distant hum of a jazz band floats from a nearby tavern. Laura finishes her homework at the kitchen table around 7 p.m., her architecture textbook open to a chapter on Gothic revival. She tells Catherine she's going for a walk to the Battery, a half-mile from home, to sketch the sunset over the harbor, a ritual she loves for its calm and inspiration. Dressed in a yellow sundress that catches the evening light, white sandals, and a denim jacket with a small palmetto patch she sewed herself, Laura grabs her sketchbook, a pencil, and a small, ever-eady flashlight, a precaution for the dimming streets. William, engrossed in the Post and Courier, looks up from an article about the port's expansion and reminds her, "Stick to meeting in East Bay, Laura." No shortcuts. She nods, her blonde hair bouncing as she heads out, promising to be back by 8:30 p.m. A neighbor, Mrs. Helen Pritchard, a 60-year-old retiree watering her azaleas, sees Laura walking down Meeting Street around 7:15 p.m., her flashlight beam cutting through the gathering dusk. Mrs. Pritchard waves and Laura calls back, "Just sketching the harbor tonight." At the Battery, a street vendor named John Tate selling sweetgrass baskets notices Laura around 7:30 p.m., perched on a bench near the seawall, sketching the horizon as the sky blazes orange. She's alone, focused, her pencil moving swiftly. This is the last confirmed sighting of Laura Elizabeth Moore. Laura's usual route home follows East Bay Street, a busy road lined with historic homes and gas lamps, though its edges near downtown grow quieter as night falls. When she doesn't return by 9 p.m., Catherine grows uneasy, her hands trembling as she dials Sarah's number, learning Laura didn't meet friends that evening. By 10 p.m., the Moores call the Charleston Police Department, CPD, their voices tight with worry. Officer Robert Hayes, a young patrolman, takes the report at the Meeting Street home, noting Laura's description. 5 feet 5 inches, 120 pounds, blonde shoulder-length hair, green eyes, last seen in a yellow sundress and denim jacket carrying a sketchbook and flashlight. The CPD initially classifies her as a potential runaway, a common assumption for an 18-year-old in 1975, when missing persons cases were often misjudged as youthful rebellion. William, his face flushed with frustration, insists Laura is reliable. She's never missed curfew. Her savings for the drafting table are untouched, and her bike sits in the garage, its blue frame gleaming under a tarp. Catherine, clutching a photo of Laura at her graduation, her cap tilted jauntily, tells Hayes, "Something's wrong. She wouldn't just leave." The officer nods, promising a search, but the Moores sense the initial dismissal, a reflection of an era when missing teens were often underestimated. The next morning, September 13th, a jogger named Peter Sullivan, a 35-year-old lawyer, finds Laura's sketchbook in a grassy lot off East Bay Street, about 400 yards from the Battery. The leather-bound book, a gift from Catherine, is torn, several pages ripped out, with a half-finished sketch of the harbor smudged by dirt. Nearby, Sullivan spots Laura's flashlight, its plastic lens cracked but still functional, its batteries rattling inside. He recognizes Laura's name from a radio bulletin and calls the CPD. Detective Sam Wheeler, a 15-year veteran with a reputation for dogged persistence, takes charge of the case, his notebook already filled with leads from other missing persons files. Wheeler's team descends on the lot, a weedy patch near a vacant warehouse, cordoning it off as volunteers gather. Neighbors from Ansonboro, classmates from the College of Charleston, and members of First Presbyterian Church, where the Moores worship. The search spreads across the Battery's seawall, the marshes along the Ashley River, and the harbor's muddy banks, with volunteers calling Laura's name into the humid air. On September 14th, a dog walker, 70-year-old George Ramsey, finds Laura's denim jacket, its hem torn and palmetto patch frayed, in a ditch off Concord Street, about 200 yards from the sketchbook. Catherine, her hands shaking, confirms it's Laura's, recognizing the stitching she taught her daughter. The items are sent to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division SLED lab in Columbia, where analysts search for clues, but the results are frustratingly sparse. No blood, no fingerprints, only soil and marsh grass fibers, consistent with the lot's terrain. The discoveries escalate the case to a suspected abduction, and Wheeler establishes a command post at the CPD's downtown station, a cramped office buzzing with officers, maps, and ringing phones. Wheeler's team works meticulously to reconstruct Laura's final moments. Sarah Evans, her best friend, confirms Laura was excited about a design project, sketching ideas for a modernized Charleston market, with no plans to leave town. She last spoke to Laura at school, where they plan to attend a gallery opening in the next weekend. John Tate, the Battery vendor, provides a vivid account. Laura was seated on a bench, her sketchbook open, capturing the harbor's silhouette as sailboats drifted past. He noticed a man in a dark shirt and jeans about 30 feet away, leaning against a lamppost, watching her intently. Tate, busy with customers, thought little of it, assuming he was a tourist, but the man's lingering presence stuck in his memory. The fog rolling in from the harbor obscured his face, and Tate couldn't recall distinct features. Another witness, Mary Collins, a 45-year-old taxi driver, reports seeing a girl matching Laura's description on East Bay Street around 7:45 p.m., walking briskly near a parked green van with rusted fenders. Collins, driving a fare, didn't stop, and the dim streetlights left her uncertain if the girl was Laura. A third witness, a fisherman named Henry Brooks, claims he saw a young woman near Concord Street at 8 p.m., walking alone, but a man in a baseball cap trailed her at a distance of about 20 yards. Brooks, preparing his boat, didn't intervene, assuming it was a coincidence, but later regretted his inaction when he heard of Laura's disappearance. The CPD canvasses East Bay and Concord streets, knocking on doors and questioning shopkeepers, but the area's mix of tourists and locals yields conflicting accounts. A partial tire track is found in the mud near the jacket, but heavy rain on September 13th washes away details, rendering it useless for casting. Cadaver dogs brought in on September 15th alert to a faint scent in the grassy lot, suggesting the presence of human remains or biological material, but a 3-day excavation, with volunteers digging through roots and clay, uncovers only trash, broken bottles, a rusted hubcap, and a soggy newspaper. Wheeler, in a rare moment of candor with the Post and Courier, admits, "We're chasing ghosts here. We need a witness or a break." The case seizes Charleston's imagination, dominating local media and stirring a city known for its genteel calm. The Post and Courier runs a front-page story on September 15th. College freshman vanishes near Battery, accompanied by Laura's senior yearbook photo, her blonde hair framing a hopeful smile that tugs at readers' hearts. WCSC TV airs nightly updates, showing grainy footage of the Battery's seawall and interviews with tearful classmates. The Moores appear on WCIV-TV on September 16th, standing in their living room, William's voice steady but strained as he pleads, "If you know anything, please help us bring Laura home." Catherine, clutching a sketch of a palmetto tree Laura drew at 16, adds, "She's our only daughter. We just need to know she's safe." The family offers a $4,000 reward, scraped together from their savings, which grows to $60,000 by October, with donations from local businesses like Husk Restaurant, Poogan's Porch, and the Preservation Society. The community rallies. Ansonboro neighbors print flyers at a local Kinko's, stapling them to telephone poles and slipping them under windshield wipers. The College of Charleston holds a vigil on September 18th, with 400 students and faculty gathering in Cistern Yard, lighting candles that flicker against the live oaks. Pastor James Thompson of First Presbyterian leads a prayer, calling Laura a light in our city. Tips pour in. A gas station clerk in Myrtle Beach reports a nervous teen resembling Laura on September 14th. A fisherman claims he saw a girl near Edisto Island, 40 miles south. A tourist at a Savannah motel describes a blonde girl with a man. The CPD chases each lead, sending officers to motels and marinas, but most are mistaken identities or dead ends, the descriptions too vague to confirm. The FBI joins the investigation on September 17th, citing the possibility of interstate travel along Orange 26, a major artery connecting Charleston to Columbia and beyond. Agents focus on the port, where transient dock workers and sailors create a fluid population, and explore a trafficking angle, noting a 1975 FBI report on rising abductions in coastal cities. Divers search the Charleston harbor, navigating its 30-foot depths and strong currents, while helicopters equipped with early infrared technology scan the marshes of the Francis Marion National Forest, a 250,000-acre expanse of pine and swamp. No trace of Laura emerges, and by October 1975, the CPD reclassifies the case as a suspected homicide, though the absence of a body or forensic evidence stalls progress. Wheeler, his desk piled with witness statements, tells the Post and Courier, "We're missing a piece of the puzzle. Without a body or a crime scene, we're stuck." The Moores, meanwhile, cling to hope, William driving his pickup to rural Johns Island, and Catherine walking the Battery daily, scanning the horizon as if Laura might appear. The CPD pursues several persons of interest, each lead a mix of promise and frustration. Tommy Garrett, a 29-year-old dock worker and regular at the Book Nook, matches the description of the unsettling customer Laura mentioned to Sarah. Garrett, with a scruffy beard and a habit of loitering, had asked Laura about her college classes, and once followed her to the store's exit, offering to carry her bag. Questioned on September 18th, Garrett claims he was at the Blind Tiger, a King Street bar, until 10 p.m. on September 12th, drinking with friends. The bartender, however, only vaguely recalls him, and no patrons confirm his presence past 8 p.m. A search of Garrett's one-bedroom apartment near the port finds a pair of work boots with soil matching the grassy lot's red clay, but the soil is common to Charleston's lowlands, offering no definitive link. Garrett fails a polygraph, his hands shaking as he cites anxiety from police pressure, but without direct evidence, fibers, blood, or a witness tying him to Laura. He's released on September 20th, though Wheeler keeps him under surveillance. Another suspect, Dave Lawson, a 24-year-old delivery driver, was seen near the Battery on September 12th, driving a green van with rusted fenders that matches Mary Collins's description. Lawson, with a 1973 arrest for stealing from a warehouse, claims he was delivering produce to a downtown restaurant until 9 p.m., an alibi partially backed by a coworker who says Lawson left around 8:30 p.m. A search of his van and small North Charleston home finds no evidence, no hair, no sketchbook pages, no signs of Laura. His tires don't match the partial track, and he's cleared but remains a name in Wheeler's notes. A third lead points to Eddie Holt, a 33-year-old drifter known for panhandling near the market. A tourist reported seeing Holt on East Bay Street on September 12th, carrying a duffel bag, but he's located in Savannah on September 22nd, with a shelter log confirming he was there on September 11th and 12th, ruling him out. The transient population, a constant in Charleston's port, complicates the investigation. Many potential witnesses are gone by the time police canvass. Theories about Laura's fate multiply, each shadowed by uncertainty and the lack of concrete evidence. The leading hypothesis is an opportunistic abduction. The torn sketchbook, cracked flashlight, and frayed jacket suggest a violent struggle in the grassy lot, a dimly lit area known as a shortcut for locals. The cadaver dog's alert in the lot supports this, indicating Laura may have been attacked and her body moved, possibly to the Charleston harbor, where currents could carry remains to the Atlantic, or the marshes of the Francis Marion National Forest, a vast wilderness where searches are like finding a needle in a haystack. In 1976, a tip from a shrimper about a suspicious sack weighted with stones in the forest's tidal creeks prompts a week-long search with boats and dogs, but only driftwood and crab traps are found. Another theory posits a targeted attack by someone who knew Laura's routine, possibly through her bookstore job. The customer's persistent questions and lingering behavior point to stalking, with Garrett as the prime fit, though the lack of forensic evidence, a hair, a fiber, a confession, keeps him free. Wheeler investigates Laura's classmates and coworkers, including a bookstore colleague, Mark Reynolds, who'd flirted with her but was in Myrtle Beach on September 12th, verified by hotel receipts. A third theory, less likely but fueled by Charleston's role as a shipping hub, suggests human trafficking. A 1975 FBI report notes coastal ports as conduits for such crimes, and a tip in November 1975 claims a young woman resembling Laura was seen at a truck stop near I-26, accompanied by an older man. The lead fizzles when the woman is identified as a runaway from Colombia. The trafficking angle persists in public speculation, amplified by fear, but no evidence ties Laura to such a network. The Moores become fierce advocates, their lives reshaped by loss. William, his weathered face etched with worry, takes unpaid leave from the docks to organize searches, driving his pickup to Johns Island, Wadmalaw, and the forest's edges, combing marshes with volunteers from the Longshoremen's Union. Catherine, soft-spoken but resolute, spends hours at a local print shop, producing thousands of flyers with Laura's photo, her green eyes staring out from telephone poles and shop windows across Charleston. They appear on Good Morning America in March 1976, standing in their living room, surrounded by Laura's sketches, pleading for information. By 1978, their reward fund reaches $80,000, bolstered by community fundraisers, bake sales at First Presbyterian, a charity concert at the Guy Art Center, and donations from King Street merchants. In 1977, they found the Laura Moore Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to missing persons cases and safety education, funding searches for 6 other South Carolinians by 1980 and partnering with schools to teach abduction prevention, reaching 8,000 students by 1985. The emotional toll is profound. William battles anger, his fists clenched when leads evaporate, confiding to a Post and Courier reporter in 1977, "I load ships, but I can't carry this weight." Catherine keeps Laura's room untouched, her yellow sundress folded on the bed, her sketchbook open to a drawing of St. Michael's steeple, its lines precise and hopeful. Annual vigils at the Battery draw hundreds, with candles illuminating Laura's photo, her smile a beacon of what's lost. Catherine tells WCSC-TV in 1979, Every sunset I see, I think Laura's sketching it somewhere. The investigation sees multiple revivals, each reigniting hope and frustration. In 1982, Detective Laura Bennett, a rising star in the CPD's cold case unit, reopens the file, driven by a personal connection. Her own cousin went missing in 1970. Bennett re-interviews key witnesses. Mrs. Pritchard, now 67, sticks to her story of seeing Laura on Meeting Street, though her memory of the time, 7:15 or 7:30 p.m., wavers. John Tate, the vendor, now a grandfather, recalls the man in the dark shirt more vividly, noting a scar on his cheek, a detail he omitted in 1975 due to nerves. Bennett questions Tommy Garrett, now 36, and living in Colombia, where he works as a mechanic. Garrett denies involvement, claiming he barely knew Laura, but fails another polygraph, blaming medication. A search of his current home finds a sketchbook page with a palmetto tree, but it's a common design sold at tourist shops, not Laura's. Bennett also tracks down David Lawson, now in Atlanta, who refuses to talk without a lawyer. His 1975 alibi still holds, though his co-worker's testimony is less certain with time. In 1989, a hiker in the Francis Marion National Forest reports finding a buried sandal, size 6, matching Laura's white sandals. The CPD, using early ground-penetrating radar, a cutting-edge tool in 1989, excavates a 100-yard area with volunteers sifting through mud, but finds only animal bones and the sandal, unrelated to Laura. The effort, though fruitless, sparks renewed media coverage, with WCIV-TV airing a special Laura Moore, 14 Years Gone, featuring interviews with her professors who recall her talent and determination. In 2005, the CPD's cold case unit, led by Detective Maria Gonzalez, retests Laura's denim jacket using advanced DNA techniques, hoping to isolate touch DNA, a method unavailable in 1975. The jacket, stored in a climate-controlled evidence locker, is degraded by Charleston's humidity, and no usable profiles are extracted. Gonzalez also analyzes soil samples from the grassy lot, using mass spectrometry to detect chemical traces, but finds only common fertilizers and marsh sediment. The investigation leverages new technology, geographic profiling, which maps crime patterns to pinpoint a suspect's likely residence. The profile suggests the abductor lived within 5 miles of the Battery, possibly in Ansonboro or downtown, aligning with Garrett's 1975 address but offering no definitive proof. In 2018, a podcast, Low Country Lost, hosted by Charleston journalist Emily Tran, dedicates a 12-episode season to Laura's case, weaving interviews with her friends, family, and Wheeler, now retired. The podcast, with its evocative storytelling, garners 5 million downloads by 2025, bringing national attention. A 2020 tip, spurred by the podcast, comes from a Charleston retiree who claims his deceased uncle, a former dock worker, confessed in 1995 to hiding a girl in 1975. The CPD investigates, identifying the uncle as Richard Hayes, who died in 1996. But his work records show he was at sea on September 12, 1975, ruling him out. In 2023, the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit provides a psychological profile of the abductor, a local male aged 20 to 35 in 1975, likely with a history of voyeurism or minor assaults, possibly triggered by rejection or opportunity. The profile fits Garrett, and to a lesser extent, Lawson, but its broad strokes can't narrow the suspect pool without new evidence. Forensic advancements offer glimmers of hope, but no breakthroughs. In 2024, a tip from a kayaker about unusual debris in the Ashley River prompts a search with drones and LiDAR, a laser-based mapping technology that can penetrate marsh vegetation. The operation, spanning 300 acres, involves the CPD, SLED, and volunteers, but finds only driftwood and fishing nets. Genetic genealogy, used to solve cases like the Golden State Killer, is considered, but without crime scene DNA or a body, it's inapplicable. Ground-penetrating radar, now standard in cold case searches, is redeployed in 2025 to scan the grassy lot, but urban development, a parking lot built in 1998, has buried potential clues under asphalt. I spoke with Dr. Elizabeth Harper, a criminologist at Clemson University who specializes in missing persons cases. Harper notes that 1970s abductions often involved opportunistic predators exploiting low-visibility areas like East Bay Street's darker stretches. Laura's case is typical of the era, she says. A young woman alone at dusk, in a transitional zone, residential but near commercial activity. Predators knew police lacked tools like DNA or CCTV. Harper highlights the psychological toll of ambiguous loss, where families like the Moores grieve without closure, a limbo more painful than confirmed loss. The BAU's profile suggests the abductor was familiar with Charleston's layout, choosing a disposal site like the harbor or forest to evade detection, possibly someone who blended into the port's transient workforce. Charleston's response to Laura's disappearance reshapes the city. By 1976, Anson Borough residents petitioned for 40 new streetlights along East Bay and Concord streets. Funded by a city grant and installed in 1977, their soft glow a quiet tribute to Laura. The College of Charleston implements a safety escort program, requiring students to travel in pairs after dark, a policy still in place in 2025. The Laura Moore Foundation becomes a regional force, supporting 30 missing persons cases by 2025, and funding Amber Alert precursors in South Carolina. Williams' testimony before the state legislature in 1978, his voice breaking as he recounts Laura's dreams, helps pass the South Carolina Missing Persons Database in 1980, which tracks 1,500 cases annually by 2025. The Post and Courier runs a 1977 series, Charleston's Hidden Dangers, exploring risks to young women in urban areas, prompting school workshops on stranger awareness, with Laura's story as a cautionary tale. Online, Reddit's r/eat unsolved mysteries and X posts keep the case alive, with users like Low Country Sleuth debating a serial killer theory, linking Laura's disappearance to a 1974 case in Savannah and a 1976 case in Myrtle Beach, a 2023 X thread by at Charleston. Cold Cases, with 12,000 likes, speculates about a transient predator tied to the port, but no evidence confirms a connection. The Moores, now in their early 80s, remain in their Meeting Street home. Its paint peeling, but Laura's room preserved like a museum. Her yellow sundress folded, her sketchbook open, her pencil sharpened. William, slowed by heart trouble, still walks the Battery weekly, his eyes scanning the horizon, while Catherine maintains the Laura Moore Foundation's website, lauramorefoundation.org, which logs 60,000 visits annually and offers a tip portal linked to the CPD. In a 2025 Post and Courier interview, Catherine, her voice soft but resolute, says, "Laura's still drawing somewhere. I feel her in every sketch I see." Annual vigils, now live-streamed on X, draw global support with a 2025 event featuring a mural of Laura at the Battery, her green eyes painted above the words, "Forever Charleston's Daughter." The proofless heart of Laura's case lies in its unanswered questions. Was she taken by a stranger like Garrett, a local like Lawson, or a drifter passing through? Did the harbor or marshes claim her remains? Or does she lie hidden in a place yet unsearched? The absence of a body keeps the case in limbo, a poignant reminder of a life paused and a truth elusive. For listeners, Laura's story is a call to action. The CPD's Cold Case Unit, reachable at 843-577-7434, welcomes tips, no matter how small. The Laura Moore Foundation's website offers resources and a tip portal. Share your thoughts on our website, prooflesspodcast.com, or on X using #, Laura Moore. Theories persist. On Reddit, users propose a link to a 1970s serial predator, while X posts from @MissingInSC urge new searches with advanced sonar. Each tip, each share, keeps Laura's name alive. That's all for the 28th episode of Proofless, Laura Elizabeth Moore's disappearance is a tragedy that reshaped a historic city and exposed the fragility of youth. Her sketches, her dreams, her light, they endure in the hearts of those who love her. If you have information, contact the Charleston Police Department or visit lauramoorefoundation.org. Join us next time for another journey into the unknown. Until then, keep searching for answers.